Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the channel. My name's Hunter, if you couldn't tell in the channel description down below. Today we're going through a gear review, an after action review, if you will, of everything I use to solo shoot a highlight wedding. Why you should watch this? I'm a part-time wedding photographer, videographer. I've been doing videography specifically for 13 years. Somebody that does it full-time obviously could shoot 20, 30 weddings a year and have a lot more experience in that same amount of time. But over the last 13 years, I've got to use lots of different gear as gear has changed and evolved. Started off with just DSLRs, GoPros, stuff like that. So I've got some kit here that I have used for probably almost the whole 13 years that I've been doing this. Some kit that's brand new to me this year. And what I wanted to do in this video is just do a quick rundown of everything that I used, everything that I brought that I didn't use, and maybe some of the reasons between those things. Also, yes, these are super interesting and we will get to them. So I'm going to start off with my main camera. My main camera is a Nikon Z6. I picked it up last year. It's a great camera, and that's all the more I need to say for it. All three of the cameras that I used, all three of the mirrorless cameras I used were Nikon cameras. I've got them all set to a fairly flat profile. Just going in, if you're a Nikon person, going into that neutral setting, taking some of the sharpness out. One thing I've noticed with the cameras and lenses, they can over sharpen your video a little bit, and it doesn't look, especially wide angles, doesn't look the greatest if that's over sharpened. It's more pleasing to have a little bit of a smoother look. There's plenty of detail in these cameras and lenses. These sensors and lenses will give you all of the detail you could ever want. You just don't want your footage over sharpened. So I use a little bit of a neutral profile just to kind of help balance out those highs and lows, your darks and lights, and then kind of go in and add contrast, add your saturation in later. That also helps out a lot with your wedding venues that have a really odd color cast. This one had green carpet. I've been in churches with red carpet. Wedding venues where they put wood paneling everywhere and everybody is just orange. The more neutral you can put that color, the easier it is to correct, and then you can add your saturation in later. So that's how I set up the cameras. Autofocus on the Z6 is great. Love everything about the camera. It works exactly like I hope it should. I've got the Ulanzi, I'll call it the influencer pod. It's got the flip out feet. Most people will use it with the camera facing them, holding it out like so. The reason I have this is a new pickup. I think it's a fairly new piece of equipment too. I shot a wedding last year after my second gimbal went down to where I ran a gimbal and just a small tripod like this. It was the PGY Tech tripod, their Mantis pod, this is a copy of the Mantis pod. I think the Mantis pod came out first. I don't like the Mantis pod because the front legs aren't stable. This one, the front legs are stable. Now there's no adjustment to the legs. Legs are either in or out. But what's nice is that sometimes I literally had both cameras in my hand and I could flip those tripod feet out, set this down, maybe do a quick adjustment, get my couple in shot, hit record, and then I'll run over to my gimbal and I'm running around using my gimbal. The 85 was not the handheld small tripod lens. The 85, if I was using it, was usually on here. The in-body stabilization in the Nikon cameras is good. I can handhold the 85 for some steadier shots. And then of course everybody knows you shoot in 60 and you can slow it down and it makes it more stable. You can do all of that, and I do that some. But I would rather have stable footage from the get-go with the gimbal itself. So that's setup number one. The 85 lens itself, 85-1.8, Nikon's S lens, is a fantastic lens, and I probably use it too much. 85 is very tight. If you've been doing wedding videography and you just heard me that I run an 85 a lot of the time, you would probably be shocked because I get, it's a really tight lens. Now I will say, the lens you're using is somewhat dependent on what your photographer is using. If your photographer is using longer lenses and standing back more, use a longer lens. You will get some fantastic images out of an 85-1.8 lens, some fantastic video, but you can't be getting fantastic video if your photographer is getting tight shots with their 35, because the photographer is going to be in the way. The photographer I work with Saturday is a great photographer. I've worked with him lots of times. He will always make sure that I've got the shots I need. Not every photographer is that great. Not everybody you can have a working relationship with. I don't live in a highly populated area, and I still every year will work with a new photographer I've never met before. So you want to work as seamlessly alongside them as you can. There will be times where I need to step in and direct something or get a shot. My style is very journalistic. I've got a journalistic background, so I'm more here to document. But there's still some fun shots that I'll be like, hey, let's get together, let's do this or that will create some fun video for the couple. So, I'm already off topic. Primary cam, Z6. Lens I used definitely the most was the 85. I used it for the processional. So we'll switch over to the gimbal. I used this setup on the gimbal for the processional. It's on this tripod now because that's how I left the reception with it. This was set up for the ending shot of the reception. Literally I pulled this gear out of my car and I'm putting it away today. It's now Monday. The wedding was Saturday, but I'm putting it away today and doing this video. So for the processional, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit, but I've got a monopod that I put my gimbal on. The monopod's got a fluid turning base, so that it's a nice smooth back and forth. I primarily use my gimbal in pan follow mode, to where when I turn the gimbal, the head will turn slowly with it, as opposed to like a lock mode where it's just straightforward and no matter what I do, that camera stays pointing in the same direction. So I've got Falcam F.38 connectors on everything. It's a Zihyun Weebil S. This is Zihyun's little tripod that it comes with, so I can slide that on. And the main reason I put a quick disconnect on it is so that I can throw it on top of the gimbal, or throw it on top of the monopod for the ceremony, and I used it for the dances. I think I would usually use it for the toast, but the toast kind of caught me off guard, so I didn't get that done this weekend. I've got Falcam's little tripod on here. I need to get an actual handle, put this down here, because this is a better tripod than the Zihyun one. Though the Zihyun one's got rubber on it. This one's just plastic, so the rubber is a little grippier, easier to hold. The gimbal itself I've been super happy with. It works as a gimbal, it works well. Figure out how to calibrate your gimbals. This is experience talking. It started to have a little bit of a lean to it, to where the camera had a little bit of tilt in it, and I had to read the manual, go in and figure out how to calibrate it, and it sits perfectly straight. I have some cheap batteries that came with it. I bought this used off eBay. Some cheap batteries that came with it, they were pretty much shot by the time they got to me, so I need to invest in some new batteries. That was my takeaway from the wedding this weekend. But great gimbal. I pretty much have this with me all of the time. This is what my A camera is on, is the gimbal, and then I think I've already said I will kind of run and gun with a second one, usually a wider lens than the 85 on there. Most of the time I had the 85 on here. People call cameras like A and B cameras. My Z6 and my Z5, which is what's on here, are pretty much interchangeable. They've got different sensors, they've got some different features one way or another, but to me the video looks close enough that I'm not preferring one camera over the other. I'm happy with both of them. Both of them have in-body stabilization, which I don't know if it helps on a gimbal or not much, but if I throw it on a handheld tripod, or I've got F.38 connectors on the gimbal itself, if I want to change the lens real quick, I can just swap the lens out, hand hold it, get a shot, put the lens I've got my gimbal calibrated for, and just throw that right back on there. So yeah, I've got a lot of F.38 connectors on everything because they work really well, they lock in well. One thing I did notice, so this has got the newer, I think they call it the Pro style of locker. This is, the way I was holding this, it was easy to bump that button from lock to unlock, and then I about had this slide off a couple of times. So I actually prefer the old style of their lockers, to where it twists. It's a little harder to disengage accidentally. So, which I've got those on my tripods. I could probably switch those out pretty easily because I don't really care how easy the locking is to bump on here. If it's on a tripod, I'm forgetting it, leaving it alone. What may have grabbed your attention, because it's a hot item right now, is I have the Osmo Pocket 3 attached to the side of my gimbal. This is a small rig video monitor mount. It's meant to mount a screen here that you would attach to your camera. But I've got the Osmo Pocket 3 on it. So if you couldn't tell already, I like prime lenses. I use the 85 a lot. I skipped over this lens. It's the 40 f2. We'll go back to it. The Osmo Pocket 3's field of view is about a 24mm equivalent, and that's the third most common focal length I use. I pretty much everywhere I go, I've got an 85, I've got the 40, and then I've got a 24 that I take with me. So I thought I've got a couple other single man run and gun weddings this year, and so why not pick up the Pocket 3, attach it to the side of my gimbal, and then I can be literally holding two cameras at once. I've not gone through this wedding video yet. I will be sprinkling it in here so you can see what the Z body looks like next to the Osmo Pocket. But I did a shoot before the wedding. I didn't go into this wedding untested. Did a shoot before the wedding, and the video from the Osmo Pocket looks really good next to the Z cameras. Good enough that I think it will work well for my intended purposes. It's mostly as a backup, because if I'm shooting tight with a prime lens and something happens, it's nice to have that wider field of view. For the processional, I've already said I had the 85 on the gimbal. I had the Pocket on the side, so I've got a nice tight shot as they're coming towards me, but at some point they're too close for that 85. I could switch over to that 24. I've got that field of view, and I kind of follow them as they go past me. And you saw that as it happened. So that's my gimbal setup with the Osmo Pocket 3. I'll probably be doing a review specifically on it. Really happy with it so far. It's a cool little piece of kit. I wish they weren't $600. They are pricey for what they do. If you are if you're a content creator, yeah, they're a great camera. For me, I mean, I was wanting to pick up another Z30 this year, and the Z30 is the same price. This had use for me because it helps me get more while doing less. I think that's a good way to put that. It helps me be able to get more footage without having to worry about juggling multiple cameras, which I'm already doing anyways. So I'm going to flip it open. I didn't use it much at the getting ready of the day. I pretty much started using it once we started doing some group pictures before the ceremony, and then through the ceremony and through the reception. I've got 13% battery left. I did not charge it. Put a 256 gig card in it, charge it at the start of the day, let it run. I've got a battery pack in one of these cases that I was ready to charge it with, but I think by the time the reception was done, or by the time the ceremony was done, sorry, I had about 40% battery left. So 45-minute ceremony. I didn't have it rolling the entire time because I didn't need to do that for this ceremony, but yeah, used it a fair amount of the ceremony and ran about 60% of battery out of it, which I'm pretty happy with. I will usually change batteries before the ceremony and after the ceremony on all my big cameras anyways, so that works out pretty well. So those are my two cameras. Oh, the 40 F2 is a fantastic lens. It has good character to it. If there's a downside to any of Nikon's S-line lenses, they are so perfect. They're so sharp, they're so clean, they're so punchy, contrast, all that stuff. They're great, fantastic lenses. They don't have a lot of character to it. They make amazing images that you can add character in later. The 40 has a little bit of character to it. I'm showing you some of the video as it goes. It's just a cool looking lens for me. It's a great moment behind the scenes, just kind of throughout the day lens that captures those moments really well. I shoot it at f2 all the time, photos and video. It's plenty sharp. It works great. So I'll go through the various cases now. I've got this nice little hard-sided GoPro case. Get your little zipper ASMR. This holds my microphones. So I've got the Rode Link, the pack with the receiver and lav mic. The connector started to go bad on it. I actually didn't use any lapel mics, any on-body mics for this wedding. Roast me in the comments now. Go ahead and get all your hate out. Tell me what a terrible person I am. Last couple weddings I shot, I did not use any of it and now I think I might have said that at the start. These are just highlight weddings. These are just little snippets throughout the day, putting it together in a 6-7 minute video, throw some audio track on the bottom and go. I might use some natural sound that the mics picked up. But I knew in the ceremony there wasn't going to be anything, like they didn't do personal vows, they weren't, you know, professing their love to one another. It was just a shortened Catholic Mass, and so there wasn't really anything I was going to need. If I'm doing a full ceremony, I will do full ceremony videos where we've got all of the cameras set up, different angles, everybody's mic'd. Catholic Masses are harder because the priest is in different places and you've usually got somebody reading from another spot, and so that's where you need like 3 or 4 mics to be able to do a full Catholic Mass. But I knew for this one I just wasn't going to need it. I could have taken the audio from the toasts, but I just didn't think having the short amount of audio from the toast wasn't really going to go well with what I was doing for the video. So there's my excuses. Go ahead and roast me. I didn't mic anybody for this wedding. But I've got that mic. I've got DJI Osmo Action that I will use if there's a place they're doing something like a sand ceremony or something that I don't feel like I can get up to. I'm not one that typically runs up on stage. Roast me in the comments. I'm not somebody that wants to get up on stage if they're doing something on stage, so I will throw a small, I've used GoPros. I think the DJI are more reliable than the GoPros. So Osmo Action is what that's used for. I've got a microphone on me. It's a little Sony stereo mic, Sony Pocket recorder that's rechargeable. I tried to look earlier, the model number's something weird on it. I will try to put links. Not sponsored links, but I'll try to at least list what all this gear is in the comment or in the description. It's going to be a long list. But I have used this Sony mic and pocket recorder from when probably when I first started. I've been using it a really long time. It's very reliable. The automatic gain function on it works perfectly for me. I've never had anything clip. I've never had anything too quiet. It will, if there's a pause, you know, where nobody's saying anything, it will tend to swell up, and, you know, then when somebody starts talking, it'll compress back down really quick. So I might have to, like, I know in my mind I've got to level that out when I'm editing my audio, but it's never clipped. I've never had any issues with clipping. I don't know what it records in. It records well. It does great. Super happy with it. The next case is a little lens pouch. This is where I keep my memory card holder and all of my charged batteries. I only had one memory card holder with me this time. I've done where I've had 2 used cards goes in one, clean cards goes in the other. I use that especially if I'm shooting with somebody. Only time I've ever had an issue is when a second shooter pulled the card out of the bag, formatted it, or threw it in his camera and then formatted it. It was a dual media. He was doing video, I was doing photos, and cleared out all of my processional photos. Just wiped them clean. I was able to recover quite a bit of them with some recovery software. If I'm shooting by myself, I know what I need, I know what I don't need, and like I'll just show. Like my top row was ones that I was using, my bottom row was like empty, and so I just put, after the Sominator switched out, put my used cards down here, pulled the clean cards out. I've only got 2 cards for the Z6, the CF Express cards, and so that's what I've got for that. I like the lens pouches. They've got belt loops on them, so sometimes I'll put them on a belt. I think I actually had this attached to the handle of my case that I took into the ceremony and reception with me. So again, I said clean batteries in here. A little spoiler alert. The reason I like the suitcases is because I just throw stuff in them. So when a battery is dead, it just gets chunked in the suitcase, and I leave it there, and it's fine. It's fine. Lens cases are also padded, so if they get banged around, it doesn't matter a whole lot. This is the first piece of kit that I did not use this weekend. It is a big lens pouch that I will typically have on my hip and keep an extra lens in and switch lenses quickly. Obviously, it doesn't work that well if you're running and gunning a gimbal. Sometimes I've got the Z30. I'll just stick a Z30 in a lens in here, and if I need something to handheld real quick, I can pull it out, shoot the shot handheld, stick it back in here. For photographers, this is excellent. I have had this, I don't know when I got it, probably since like when I started, and this has been on sports shoots, event shoots. This goes everywhere with me if I'm doing any sort of event, if I'm going to be needing to switch lenses quickly, because it's right there at your hip. It's got little slots on the side that I will put card holders, extra batteries, business cards, my cell phone. Really, really handy piece of kit. This is probably the first wedding in a long time that I did not put it on. And it was sitting in the car and I looked at it and I was like, I just don't think I need it right now. But it's a fantastic bag to have, highly recommended. I'll be putting all the descriptions of stuff somewhere, so I'm not having to read them all off. Last bag I have here, I have got my Mavic 2 in. Nothing special about a Mavic 2, everybody knows what it is. I don't have a case for it. This was a cheap camera case that came with, I think, the Z30 when I bought it new. Bought the drone off of Marketplace, didn't have a case, so I put it in here. Only used it for establishing shots at the church and the ceremony location, the church and the reception location. I've done outdoor shots with drones before in the couple, usually if there's two of us, so I've got a second shooter running video and then I'll come in and do some swoopy shots with the drone, that kind of stuff. Golf courses are great. We've taken some pictures on golf courses. I crashed a drone one time because we were chasing the bride and groom with the drone and I ran into a tree. Drones are fun. So, the big thing that's been sitting beside me the whole time, I got a set of vintage hard-sided suitcases. Yes, they're bright red and chrome. Vintage hard-sided suitcases from Goodwill. We were looking at getting Pelican cases, and my wife had actually found these and was like, let's get these. These have a lot of character in them. They're fun. Everywhere I take these, I get compliments on them, just how cool they are. It's not just another camera bag. Metal latches, and then we just went in and put some foam in here. Should we have used black foam? Yeah, maybe, but they're not open a whole lot. So what I will typically do when I show up, again, we're typically at a salon, a house where the ladies are getting ready, hair and makeup done, all that. I will have the gimbal in one hand, I will have this small case in another. So one camera is already set up on the gimbal, ready to go. This case will have the lenses I will use primarily, my gimbal batteries, which this is a nice case because I've got fresh batteries on one side, I've got dead batteries in the other. So I've got extra batteries for it, usually a couple of lenses. I threw my lights in here because I was in a little bit of a rush to get out the door Saturday morning. I don't use lights a whole lot, usually as accents for detail shots. If it's a really dark reception hall, maybe pull one of these out for like a cake cutting or yeah, probably just something like that. The photographer I was working with Saturday is great. He's got better, bigger versions of some LED lights that he actually brought out when we were doing the cake cutting and used for that. I've got the gimbal battery charger, and then what is nice about the cases is that as I'm going, I can just throw stuff in them. So I've got lens caps, battery caps, a bunch of stuff. My phone charger ended up in here, the cable for the gimbal. A lot of that stuff just ends up in here because I can just throw it in the case as I go. I can't remember if I said my camera batteries. When a camera battery is dead, chunk in the case, and it's done. I don't have to worry about, I saw a guy the other day that had rubber bands around his fresh batteries. I don't have to worry about taking the rubber bands off. Whatever works for you is great. Have a system, work with the system, it's great. My system is I just throw it in the case, and that's why I like these so much. They're big, and I can just throw them in. So I will take the small case in. I'll take my gimbal at the start of the day. When we get to the ceremony is when I start needing a bunch of lenses. And so here's my bunch of lenses. I'm going to run through these real quick. This is not an in-depth review on anything, just real quick impressions. So I say a bunch of lenses. First thing I'm going to pull out, Rode VideoMic Pro, great for natural sound. Headed on for the ceremony and the dances during the reception, like the formal dances, first dance, mother, son, father, daughter, those kinds of dances. Nikon 24-120 f4. This was on my Z30. I was up on the balcony during the reception. Good lens. I've heard that the Z mount lens is fantastic. This one's nice and sharp, does everything I need it to do. I don't have any reason to go buy a $1,000 lens when my $300 version works well enough. It's just for setting on a tripod, basically. Set on a tripod. I started off with a really wide shot of the ceremony, ended up punching it in a little bit later, and it works well for stuff like that. Nikon's 24-1.8 S lens, a recent pickup. I replaced the Viltrox version. I bought the Viltrox originally when all the Z stuff was just coming out. The used market has come down to where I picked this up for 450 bucks. It was a heck of a deal. Don't hurt yourself trying to find one for that, because they're still usually around 700. Fantastic lens. The main thing this has over the Viltrox version is it is sharper. Was happy with the Viltrox version, just found a heck of a deal on this. Sold the Viltrox one for 250, and like it's kind of a no-brainer upgrade. But I haven't used it a whole lot. From what I saw through the camera, I'm going to be pretty happy with that lens. I've got several crop sensor lenses in here. So I keep saying the Z30. I'm recording this with the Z30. The Z30 at the start of the day was in here, along with my Z5 was in here. I've got crop sensor lenses because I have the Z30. I will probably pick up a second one to have two. They're great tripod cams because they run until your card's full. They don't have a 30-minute time limit like the Z5, Z6 do. So my Z30 was up in a balcony. It's got the red tally light on it to show it's recording, and I think this is the first one I had done with a balcony, so I could, from the floor, I could look up, see that red light on, and know that camera's still going. I don't have to worry about it at all. I did go up, check on it, punch in that shot a little bit with my zoom lens. So my first DX lens is a Sigma 18 to 35 1.8 F mount. If you are in video world, you know this lens. If you can have an industry standard lens, this is it. Everybody loved these on their Blackmagics, on your Micro Four Thirds shooters, love this lens. I finally picked one up. I love this lens. It's fantastic for dark reception halls. Even so, like at the ceremony, it was a pretty well lit church. My f4 zoom I had to have at 1000 ISO, whereas my primes, I had this lens on the Z5 on a tripod for the ceremony. I think I was running like 400 ISO, 500 ISO. Having that 1.8 option is great, and being able to walk up to your tripod cameras and just adjust a little bit by zooming in. I mostly shoot primes, but on those tripods it's great to have a zoom so I can just punch that in a little bit. Everybody probably does this, but a lot of times at the start of the ceremony you start out wide because you're not exactly sure where people are going to be, and then throughout the ceremony you can go back up to your tripod cam, zoom it in a little bit, and then you're good to go. So great lens. The next DX lens that's going to get me in trouble is Viltrox's 75 1.2. Again, picked it up used off Facebook Marketplace, 350 bucks. I have a 1.2 lens. It's a newer pickup. So what I used this for was, we were getting a couple shots, the bride and groom. I actually just ran over, I can't even remember what camera body I had it on. I'll put it down here somewhere as I show the shot. But I picked up the 75, I picked up the camera body, and because it's a DX lens, it punches in, I think like somewhere in that 110, 120 millimeter range for a full frame equivalent. So it is a long lens, especially since I was trying to handhold it. It was with one of the full frame bodies because I know I had in-body image stabilization, but was able to handhold it. And what I did was got those detail shots. I got shots of she had on her bouquet, she had pictures hanging off of people that she'd lost, shots of the bouquet, shots of earrings, shots of her hair, a lot of those really close detail shots. Because again, the photographer was working, he was moving around, taking his pictures, and so I can stand back a ways and get those shots. Those looked great. The out of focus area, the bokeh on this lens is fantastic. Having a 1.2, like I can shoot indoors at ISO 100. It's freaking amazing to have that 1.2 in such a cheap lens. I know there's a lot of other people, there's a couple of other companies coming out with crop sensor 1.2 lenses. Have not tried any of them. This is the only one I picked up. It's a fantastic lens. So during the reception, I threw the 75 on one of the full frames, threw it on a gimbal, and shot some of the mother-son, father-daughter dances with it. They did the first dance separate from those dances. They did the first dance, then we ate supper, and then the other ones. Man, I'm super excited about those videos too, because it's, again, just super punched in, super tight on the faces, tight on the emotions, the details. I like to get details even to those first dances. It just gives you something visually different to look at while they're dancing. So I'm super excited about the stuff that came out of that. I'm excited to use that lens more because I really think there's going to be some special video that you can get with that kind of a lens. My last DX lens I have in here, and I'm glowing over these lenses. They're just really fantastic lenses. The Viltrox 13 1.4 Z mount. This lens has gone with me everywhere over the last year. It's a great travel lens, landscape lens. It's the only ultra wide that I brought. Anything wider than 24. I think I only used it a couple of times for some of our outdoor portrait shots in the snow, and that's where I threw it on a camera body and had it on that small tripod. I can set the tripod down, hit go, grab my gimbal, do my gimbal work, sit the gimbal down, point it at the couple, hit record, and then pick up the small camera again. And I think that's what I had on here. I'll show some of that video. But it's a super sharp lens at 1.4, and then of course you've got the room to stop down. So if you need all the light, or if you want to, you can get some depth of field isolation even at 13 millimeters with 1.4. You can get that isolation if you're really close to them, but if you don't need as much isolation, don't need as much light, you stop down to 2.8. It's a very sharp lens. Get very good results out of that. I have the F mount lenses. I've got the F to Z adapter. I'm using the F to Z2 adapter to shoot this video, so it is on my Z30. I've already talked about Z30, but those two pieces of kit were in here as well. I've got a vintage 55mm f3.5 macro lens. Didn't use it, but it's always good to have a macro lens with you. Vintage is a good way to pick up a macro lens for cheap because it's not something you use very often, especially in video work. So it is there. My dead batteries that are thrown in here. Tamron 70 to 200 did not use. Was thinking about putting one of my, I'm actually out of F.38 connectors after setting up the gimbal because I've got two sets of connectors on the gimbal. Don't have any more plates to where I could have set it on a monopod, but what I would probably do is put a plate on the lens itself, throw it on that monopod, and then get some tighter up shots during the ceremony is about all I would have that for. Again, the beauty of these cases is that as I'm switching lenses, pulling things in and out, something that started in the small case might end up in the big case might end up in the small case. I've got different lenses on different cameras. I don't have to worry about dividers, or especially in backpacks, you kind of have things sectioned out where like they have to fit. You got to have the camera with this lens on it to fit in this spot. Doesn't matter. Case shuts, and on we go to the next one. So my last case stays in the car. This one does not come in with me. This is all of the extra stuff. It's a big case. I think I already mentioned I have the PG Widetech Mantis Pod. What I hate about this is the front legs, they don't lock in place at all. I had used this for traveling. I actually used it at the Grand Canyon, and even like setting on the Grand Canyon wall, like they lock when they're all the way out like this, but in different configurations, it just doesn't work as well. Also, I about lost the plate that's on it. This looks like the F.38 plates. It is not compatible with the F.38 plates. F.38 plates will not fit in here. And I about lost the plate because it's just a friction lock, and if that comes undone, this will rattle out and fall out. So do not like this, but I have it, so it's in my extra box. I've got a short Vanguard tripod that I've had for a while. Nothing in this case I used this week. I think I had the Ulanzi influencer pod in here, and I'd taken it out. This is a shoulder rig. This is first started handheld. Then we would use the center columns of our tripods as a shoulder rig. I'd use a monopod as a shoulder rig. Bought a shoulder rig. This is a Polaroid, super cheap. It's got a plate, it's got a handle, it's got a piece to go on your shoulder. That's all you need on a shoulder rig. Don't use it anymore, but if my gimbal were to go down, I would probably pull this out and use it, because you can get a lot more stable than just like hand holding it up to your body. I've come from a journalism background where we had shoulder cameras, zoom back and forth, and so that's kind of why I had picked this up, because it mimics that pretty well. Magnetic little tripod mount. C-clamp mount. Those are great for the action cams, maybe the Pocket 3. I've got my extra ball tripod heads that I just don't like, but I keep in here. The tripod I'm recording this on is a small rig, just travel tripod. It fits in here. This piece of kit I will show, again, I did not use, but it's super interesting for you wedding videographers that have double cameras at the back. Some of you heathens will put a camera on the hot shoe of your other camera. A Vanguard Multi-Mount 6. It's got a place that sits on your main tripod, and then it's got two other tripod head connectors so that you can run two cameras off of one tripod. You can move them closer together if you want like a really close same shot, but this is a very stable way to get more than one camera up and going, as long as your base tripod is plenty sturdy. You can also take the center post out, the center post screw out, and then run this vertical to where you've got an extra, I don't know, 1.5 feet of tripod center mount. And then I suppose you could mount cameras off the side, you can mount cameras off the top, you can mount cameras everywhere. I don't use this much, but every time I look at it, I'm like, man, this is a cool piece of gear. No, I will not sell it to you. Good luck finding it, because I got this off of eBay. I've got an extra monopod in there, and then in this box I keep extra tripod pieces, the little adapters from the thicker tripod ring, the smaller tripod ring, a little tiny mini ball head that it looks like pieces have fallen out of, so I'm not sure what good it is. But tools, you always want to have tools. If you need to adjust something, need to tighten something, the tools that my tripods came with are in there. And so in a nice little box that, again, this stays in the car. If I need a piece, like if I'm going into the ceremony, I can grab stuff out of it, take it in. If I need to fix something, I can take the piece out to my car, put it in there, and that's how that works. On to tripods and monopods. So this is the first wedding I've done with a good monopod. I've had some cheap ones. This is a Manfrotto. It's got a fluid drag system for rotation at the bottom, and then of course the ball. I had tightened the screws on the ball to where it's still pretty easy to move, but it's still pretty stable. During the ceremony, my lovely F.38 connectors, I take that off, I throw this on top of the monopod, and if I hold it right, it will sit there. Did I do that and walk away from it during the ceremony? No, I did not walk away from it. But it's just, it's nice to have something where you can kind of sit and you're not having to hold it, you're not having to hold the gimbal the whole time. This is also a very tall monopod. I don't have the space here to show you how tall, because I think I'm already running out of the top of my camera shot, but it goes up to, I think, about 6'6", pretty tall. So it's also good with a gimbal for those overhead. You want to do like some drone-like shots. You can get it over the top of your group, do some kind of zooming shots. That's where the flip down screens of the Nikon are nice, where you can just flip it down and kind of still be able to see it as you're holding it up in the air. What I look for in tripods and monopods are these flap tighteners, because they've all got nuts on the back end and screws so that I can tighten these and adjust them as they go. I think this was a little bit loose. Yeah, it's kind of sliding down as I put weight on it. I think I noticed that during the ceremony. So I need to go in and tighten these flaps down. I much prefer that over the screw mount, because I know that's unlocked and that's locked. The screw, like the screw type ones, never really liked. Those are just tension and how tight you get the tension on them. So super happy with this monopod. I like Vanguard tripods. I've got two of these. I've had this one for a very long time. I've had the next one for a pretty long time. They're durable. Again, they've got the flaps that I have adjusted the flaps on these to where they are nice and tight. This one, the legs go all the way out on. It's one that the neck comes out and you can go at an angle. And what I've done with that sometimes is I'll put it behind a post or a pillar, and then I can stick the center post out, and then you put a ball head on it and correct it up. Just kind of helps hide the tripod, especially if you're putting it like behind the couple in the backdrop or something. It's great to use for something like that. The head is an old Manfrotto head. big manual knobs. I like it because you can, it's got a lot of angle adjustment, below, parallel, and past 90 that way. If your tripod's at a weird angle somewhere, you can do that. F38 connector on the tripod. It's got a video handle tilt on it. I don't use any of my tripods actively filming on them to where I'm moving them around. So the fluid heads don't do me a lot of good. I just need a head that I can adjust quickly, set in a place that I want it, and let it be there. You can see on this one, this is my second Vanguard tripod. I've got the handle down to where it's just kind of out of the way because I just want to set that head in the space I want it and let it be. I think this is a 3-pod or something, cheap tripod head. F38 connector on top because it's great to have all of your connectors the same. I can put any camera on any one of my tripods, mounts, gimbals, and it's just ready to go. This one also has adjustable legs that kick out quite a ways. The center post just goes up. This is my favorite tripod. It is super heavy duty, big beefy aluminum legs on it. The big feet, it's got big wide feet that you can take off. It's got smaller feet underneath and I think pegs under that, but these wide feet, I have never had an issue. Grass, dirt, tile, concrete, any surface they're on, carpet is obviously easy. Any surface they're on, it sits, it's stable, it's sturdy, and it does really well. This one is also really tall. I think it gets up to about 6'6", to where I'll run the legs all the way up and then adjust my camera, and then I have to throw the center post up higher because I'm not going to be like, I can reach the camera, but it's hard to adjust once it's up that high. So great tripod to have. So that's my gear. I've got it all strung out now, but you've seen everything I took for a solo shoot highlight video wedding. If you have any questions on any of the gear, drop it down below. I would love to be able to do reviews of all of this gear. I just probably don't have the time to, because again, video is just a part-time deal for me. YouTube is a part-time side set of a part-time job. So there's lots of other stuff to do, but if there is a piece of gear you'd love to see a review on, drop it down below. If you're subscribed, you're giving me a follow, whatever, I'll try to get around to some of that. Some of the stuff I've shot reviews on, I just haven't got around to editing them yet. Editing takes the longest. But I do appreciate any comments, the follows, the likes, all of that great YouTube stuff that YouTube people ask for. So whatever interactions you want to do with this video, whatever value you got out of the video, just give me some interactions for. I learned a lot from YouTube, and what I hope to do is just create some more knowledge content to be able to put out there. This isn't hey, so-and-so sent me this. This is knowledge content. This is I've been using this stuff for a long time. I bought into the Nikon Z series system as soon as it came out. Been using it ever since, and I've shot, like I said, I've done video weddings for 13 years. I'm coming up on about 14, 15 years of photo weddings. Been doing event and portraiture stuff for quite a while. So if you have any questions on any of that stuff, any questions on the gear you see here today, again, just ask away. I'm pretty good about getting back to comments. Videos just take me a little bit longer. So thank you for checking out the channel. You have a fantastic day.